Giuliani made clear that the specific investigations related to Burisma, Code for Biden's, and the 2016 election had to be included in order to get the White House meeting. So the Americans sent back to the Ukrainian top aide a revised draft that includes now the two investigations, and you've seen the side by side. This was then the essence of the quid pro quo regarding the meeting, and this direction came from President Trump. Here is how Ambassador Sondland put it.
Mr. Giuliani's requests were a quid pro quo for arranging a White House visit for President Zelensky. Mr. Giuliani demanded that Ukraine make a public statement announcing the investigations of the 2016 election, DNC server, and Burisma. Mr. Giuliani was expressing the desires of the President of the United States, and we knew these investigations were important to the President.
Now, according to witness testimony, as you might imagine, Ukrainian officials were very uncomfortable with the draft that Giuliani, Volker, and Sondland were negotiating. They understood that the statement was the deliverable that President Trump wanted. But yielding to President Trump's demands would in essence force President Zelensky to break his promise to the Ukrainian people to root out corruption, because politically motivated investigations are a hallmark of the kind of corruption that Ukraine has been plagued with in the past. Mr. Yermak tried to get some confirmation that the requested investigations were legitimate. In response to the draft statement, Yermak asks Volker, quote, whether any request had ever been made by the U.S. to investigate election interference in 2016. In other words, whether any request had been made by any official U.S. law enforcement agency through formal channels, as you would expect if it were a legitimate request. Ambassador Volker tried to find a satisfactory answer. On August 15th, Volker's assistant asked Deputy Assistant Secretary George Kent whether there was any precedent for such a request for investigations. At his deposition, Kent testified that, if you're asking me, have we ever gone to the Ukrainians and asked them to investigate or prosecute individuals for political reasons?
This is George Kent testimony.
I hope we haven't, and we shouldn't, because that goes against everything that we are trying to promote in the post-Soviet states for the last 28 years.
That's bullshit.
Which is the promotion of the rule of law. The next day, we're now on August 16th. In a conversation with Ambassador Bill Taylor, the U.S. ambassador in Kyiv, and Ambassador Taylor stepped in when Ambassador Yovanovitch was pushed out, Taylor, quote, amplified the same theme and told Kent that, quote, Yermak was very uncomfortable with the idea of investigations and suggested it should be done officially and put in writing. As a result, it became clear to Kent in mid-August that Ukraine was being pressured to conduct politically motivated investigations. Kent told Ambassador Taylor, that's wrong, and we shouldn't be doing it as a matter of U.S. policy. Ambassador Volker claimed that he stopped pursuing the statement from the Ukrainians around this time because of the concerns raised by Zelensky's aide. At his deposition, and despite all of his efforts to secure a statement announcing these very specific political investigations desired by the president, Ambassador Volker testified that he agreed with Yermak's concerns and advised him that making those specific references was not a good idea because making those statements might look like it would play into our domestic politics. Without specific references to the politically damaging investigations that Trump demanded, the agreement just wouldn't work. Ukraine did not release the statement, and in turn, the White House meeting was not scheduled.
Exactly. It wasn't scheduled because there wasn't no meeting scheduled in the first place. We just were trying to make sure that there wasn't no corruption going on in Ukraine before they released the funds. 4 more years. Checkmate.
Now let's